So Q321, the shader is I guess custom clothing or actually anything, as we'll see later tonight. Um, it's procedurally generating the look for clothing and guns and items via patterns and color schemas, and then also procedurally making them look worn out and dirty and potentially things like blood splatter. Push to talk. I'm not using push to talk. Just my microphone going out. Maybe. There's a lot of noise. I have a fan going downstairs because I'm getting work done on my house, and there's some chemical stuff in the bathroom down there. I have a fan blowing it all out because it's paint thinner smell all over the place. And that may be causing it to have a noise floor a little higher. Sorry about that. I don't know if I can change something in XSplit to fix that or not. Sorry. Uh, I will move my microphone so that it's closer to me if I can. Okay. So just as a sort of intro thing for people that weren't here last time, I'm a programmer, and I do graphic stuff a lot and shaders and whatnot. I do not do art, even though I am showing you art. This shirt was made by an artist that is way better at this kind of stuff than I am. I couldn't make this at all. Uh, I am doing using artist made textures to combine into the end result of this shirt. And I can show you what it would look like without the procedural stuff, which I started with last week. So if we take out all the applying of the layers, color, um, you can see this is the base shirt with an artist drawn texture, and this particular one is pre-drawn, dirty and bloody in a little bit because this is before I got involved and said we should make procedural stuff on all our clothing, so they made shirts like this, right? And there's a whole bunch of different versions of this with like the different colored stripes and the I Survive PW1. They hand make those and hand color them and do this kind of thing. But as I showed last week, we did this thing with patterns to make it look like this, and that's layered over top of what was there. Um, and we can adjust the pattern rotation, and rotate it around. We can adjust the scale, make the flowers really big or really tiny. It's all just parameters being fed into the shader. And we can also adjust the colors to whatever we like. So like it's blue now it's a red Hawaiian shirt. So there's, and the leaves are also like I can make them yellow, or whatever instead. think they just, this particular pattern, they look better green. And again, this is me going out on Google and finding this flower pattern and then turning it into my mass texture using some paint.net skills to recolor. And you can see down here on the side, there's like a little preview of it in red, blue, and green. That's what that texture looks like that we're applying here. Anyway, this is all stuff we talked about last time. Sorry there's no VOD saved with that for you guys to refer back to. I didn't have the feature turned on, but I had it already on. But I will double check to make sure it's still on, and if it's not on, I will have to start and stop again, but let me go look. Let's see here. Channels and videos. Yep, automatically archive my broadcast, so it's still on. And now I've got to get the chat back. Sorry. Because I went to the wrong window. So anyway, when we left off last week, I was trying to get one of the people watching asked if I could get some kind of blood splatter or something going, and it was late and I was sort of brain dead and trying to do the wrong kind of blend. And shortly after getting off stream, I figured it out and I tweeted a picture. Let me set this back up so I can show you what I did and explain it. So we have that texture. Comment in some different code here because I have things I figured out since. So the way that I needed to apply this grunge texture, blood texture, whatever you want to call it, I was originally trying to do a grunge thing, which I'll also show the correct version of that later. But somebody suggested, can we make it look like blood? And I was like, yeah. And then I started to do it, and then it didn't work because I was being dumb. But now what I've ended up doing is it's a blend. It's really more of a mix or an alpha blend, but this texture doesn't have an alpha channel, so I create my own alpha channel by using the luminance calculation. I don't know if you're familiar with calculating luminance from a color, but there's this constant vector here that you can apply. You can dot with your color and it will turn it into basically grayscale brightness of the texture. And you can go Google luminance calculations and see that. Is everyone still there? The chat is completely blank for me. Let me make sure everything's still working. Okay. So anyway, what I'm doing is I'm using the luminance of the texture, which you can see over here on the side, this black and white spots thing, to be essentially my blend between the base color and the grunge color. And in this case, grunge color is this red color that it's not on there because it's not compiled in. It will show up in a second. Let me compile it in. There we go. And I made it this sort of blood red color. And if we go back over here to the shirt and slide the grunge amount in, You can see the little red spots appearing, and I can adjust that so that they're bigger spots, and rotate them around, bring in some more there. We can rotate them to different parts of the shirt. And this is, again, just programmer art. We need to get an artist involved here in a week or two to actually create some real textures to be used for this. But this is basically just sort of a layer on top in a color. And for blood, we'll probably actually want to include a normal channel for a normal map for the blood, so we can make it look like blood on the surface of the shirt more accurately, instead of just red coloring splattered on there, which is what it looks like right now. But at least it's doing the right thing, right? You're leaving the shirt there and you're getting these blood stains applied based on grunge amount. And the way I've got it set up is the different shades of gray come in earlier or later. So the brightest ones come in early, so you get a few splatters, and then as you bring up the amount to show, more of the splatters appear. And you know, rotating the patterns to the splatters, and these can be moved around. They'll be random. Well, if the texture was better, you would get it. And one of the pieces that was missing, like I mentioned last time, is that there will be a map, a channel made of texture space for the shirt that sort of demarcates parts of the shirt as not to not get dirt and grime as much as other parts. Just so that you can have things sort of make sense. Like the front of the shirt will be clear, but like in the underarm under here, you probably shouldn't get splatters there necessarily as much as you would on the outer facing parts. So there'll be a map that an artist makes. It's sort of a grayscale, black and white. Wherever it's white, the splatter stuff will show up more, and wherever it's black, it won't show up. And the this trick here that I'm doing to create an alpha channel for myself using the luminance, it's a combination of using the luminance by dotting the color of the texture with the luminance formula vector that I showed you earlier, and using a feature of shaders called Smooth Step. And what Smooth Step is doing for me here is taking the range of color of the value. So I have my grunge amount, which is my parameter I'm passing in, and the grunge loom, which is the luminance that I calculated. And I'm basically saying with this calculation here that anything below 0.8 is 0. And anything between 0.8 and 0.1 will transition smoothly on a curve from 0 to 1. And then anything above 1 will be 1. And you can play with these numbers and get a wider or narrower range of what you want to be, what you want your values to be. So like if I change this to say 0.2 to 0.1 instead, what'll happen is that the bloodstains will like alpha fade in instead of popping in and appearing. So you see how they're just sort of fading in, and it doesn't quite look right when they're like just barely faded in. And that's because I'm allowing a larger range of the values to get through and be, between 0 and 0.8. So it's doing this fade in effect. And then if I go back over here, and we'll put it back to 0.8, and do the same thing, and you'll see that it's more like they still fade in a little, but they tend to ramp more quickly to on and off instead of fading over a larger period of time. And if I move my mouse really slowly, I can make them show the same kind of fading, but the range of values are not quite the same at all. So anyway, that's the splatter version of this. And then what I was really trying to do last week that I only had partially working because I didn't have a very good time is to do grunge instead of splatter. And that's sort of like make the shirt look like it's getting dirty and worn out and whatnot. And so I found a better texture for that. And I gotta go make sure I actually have it in my folder here at home. Don't, so I gotta go put it in my folder here at home. There we go. And so this is a texture that I borrowed from somewhere. Again, this isn't the one we'll end up using, but something similar to it. And the different way that this is applied is that I read the grunge texture, and it has an alpha channel that's sort of varying across the surface of the grunge with more or less alpha, and then it's just sort of a dirty, scummy-looking thing. And we're gonna sample that, and then we're going to lerp between one and that texture based on the alpha channel in it, as well as the amount of grunge that we're trying to apply. And then we're going to take that and multiply it by the color, and wherever it's 1, it'll just leave the color, and wherever it's less than 1, it will degrade the shirt and make it look nastier. Move it more towards looking like the grunge. There's another layer to this that I haven't done yet, and I won't do tonight because I've got a bunch of other things to show you. But it will help make it look better. But even just this sort of accomplishes closer to what I was trying to do before. I gotta set my scale stuff, but this is this shirt getting dirtier, and you can see it sort of turns towards a blacky dirt color. I'll zoom in a little bit on it. Right, you get the starts out all shiny, new, and clean, and as we start to get a little bit the white part, the flowers show it the most at first, but you can see it's sort of bringing in darkness and cracks and whatnot, as if the paint were flaking in this case of the flowers, like they were silk screened on or something. So that's grunge on the shirt. And again, we can play with the colors that are underneath, just so we can see that being applied to different colors. Like it shows up a little more visibly on the red than the blue. Right? Different amounts. And this texture again, we'll make one that is, we'll probably have a few different ones that are appropriate for different kinds of clothing. Yeah, let me just do something real quick. I forgot to share. Oh, I forgot to fix that. Damn it. Yeah, I'm using a microphone that's a one-channel microphone, and it's hooked up through a thing. Let me just do this tweet. I'll see if I can fix it. Let's. Did that change anything at all? Um. Probably didn't. I don't know. Oh, it's okay. I'll be probably streaming for a couple hours with it, so it didn't change anything. I wonder if it's. I wonder if I'm gonna have to go into my. Uh, why didn't I go to PAX? Because I didn't want to go freeze my butt off in Boston for PAX East. That's part of it. Plus, there's too much work for me to do. I've been helping with the crashes and whatnot. So, yeah. I've been to PAX Prime a few times. I prefer that one in general. I might go to PAX Prime again this year, but I'm not sure yet. I might just go hang out up there and not actually go to PAX Prime because getting passes is annoying. Yeah, they got us all mad. We fixed some of the bigger ones. There's still some more. We get crash reports, and we were getting lots and lots and lots and lots of them until we fixed a couple of them. A couple of the bigger ones, and we're definitely getting a lot less now. So we know that that we fixed some, and our concurrent users and stuff has sort of recovered a little bit. And I know for a fact that there's a couple guys still at work right now working on some more crashes. So don't worry, people are on it. Well, I don't Neurixt. I think that's how you say that. I don't know. I don't do art, so military grade gear and such. That's not something that I would be doing if we are doing it. I don't even know. That's artist question, really. Artists and designers. I think they want to do, outfits that are somewhat military or mercenary like. I'm just providing some tech so they can make the stuff look cool and have a lot of variety. There was a new video just put up today with Sebastian, who's our art director, and he showed some of the stuff with the new character, and they had some concept pictures in there that showed some of the kinds of clothing and gear that they were planning on making. So anyway, that's the grunge thing there. And then one other thing that I want to show because it's really easy and I already did it, but I'll explain it. So one of the things you notice is this shirt, like up here in the top, the pattern is showing in this area here. That's sort of like the inside of the shirt. But it's not really an inside. It's just where your neck pops out and stuff. Um, and this is like just they put a cap on it so they can make the shirt by itself without the guy's head and neck in there. Um, but I can exclude the pattern from showing up on some of these areas where it shouldn't be. Um, and it's really easy. I just was able to make a texture. You can see it down here. This black and white texture here with these 4 circles. Those are the parts of the texture that are those areas that aren't really part of the shirt. And I was able to make that just because if you see on here this brown texture over here, this little square, you can see the areas are pretty easily demarked there, and I just sort of surrounded the circles with the halo tool in paint.net and then cleared everything else to black and then filled in those areas with white to get this texture. And then all I have to do is read that texture, which I already have right here in the code. Just read the texture with the same texture coordinates as the main thing, and then we just use the inverse of that and multiply it by the mask so that the mask gets blocked wherever the exclusion texture is white. And I want to invert it so that it's easy to see what parts are being excluded in the texture when the artist makes it, but I invert it because I want my logic to be everywhere that it's white, it stays, and everywhere that it's black, it goes away, but then it would make everything else go away. So I invert it in the code by using 1 minus. And then when I apply that, you can see up here now the area inside the neck there is now just the default what was in there, and these end caps, the same thing, and the bottom, they're just the default texture is being revealed instead of the outer pattern. And so this is less useful in this particular example. There's other examples like the motorcycle helmet, which I have a version of. It's kind of crappy because it's not UV mapped correctly, but I can show you applying the same pattern and other ones to it. And you want the visor to be excluded, right? You don't want the pattern to go across the visor because it's going to be some other, solid color that you want. So anyway, that's those two features on this shirt. I need to load up some other project here, and I'm probably going to have to remap it in the tool, but I'll leave this view up for a second till I get that going to show you these other. I'll show you the helmet real quick. Once I get it. Okay. Wait a second. I guess. Okay. So this is the helmet with the same fancy Hawaiian flowers applied to it. And as you can see, I had to get so the UVs are messed up, and they need to make a new version that fixes the UVs for when we want to do this procedural stuff. But notice how I've got the visor excluded out, so it's just the default color, which is gray in this particular example that the artist gave me. That'll be something that the artist paint in. But yeah, so the helmet looks kind of funky with the Hawaiian pattern on it. It's fun you can play with the scale. I can make it bunches of little flowers, right, and big ones, and rotate it just like the shirt. It's all procedural, and the colors again are also totally whatever we want. We can make it hot pink, and the flowers will make bright yellow, and the leaves make those sort of sky bluish color, right? When you like to run around in the game in that one, that'd be kind of funny. Anyway, So we got the same kind of thing we can do here with our grunge, where it gets dirty, and of course the grunge applies everywhere. Again, this texture is just my sort of placeholder texture. Um, and when we have like the cavity map and that uh, grayscale map, like I was explaining for the shirt, we'll be able to do things like the visor can have this edge around it where it probably won't be as dirty and grimy, or maybe it's more dirty and grimy there and less in other parts, so that you'll get a more interesting uh, application of the grime and dirt based on the shape of the thing. And the artist can paint or create in Maya. They can create cavity maps, which is like anywhere where there's creases and dents and bumps. And they can also paint they can make it so like the top of the helmet gets more worn out than some of the other parts. Maybe the bottom of the rim down here will wear out more because like it's setting on that all the time, or if it rolls over it's like on the top all the time, so those might have more grime and scratches. And we can also adjust the grime to be more or less detailed, scaling it up and down. This texture is kind of crappy. It tiles a lot and stuff. It's not really meant to be used in a tiling matter, but it achieved what I wanted, to just show that we can do it. We can rotate it around too. Um, Again, I'm just developing the shader techniques that we can then get an artist to make cool art for, and the stuff will look even better. Um, you know, one of the things, like the normal map for this particular helmet is got all these sort of dings and stuff in it, and we need to make that so that the normal map is clean and shiny, and then we can dirty it up. When the grunge, the other layer, like I was saying, will probably end up with a normal map to help make scratches look like they actually are scratching the surface and whatnot. And we can do that same. Oh, I forgot to mention this because we talked a lot about it last time, but we have this detail blend thing for the normal that we can do to apply, and that works here too, just like it did on the shirt. It's actually kind of cooler with the helmet. Sort of has this, now it has that pattern on it instead, and there's a few different patterns here that we can try. Guess that one sort of a weird, noisy. I don't even know what that one's supposed to be. These are textures that were the detail normals here are stuff that's from PlanetSide. I just sort of borrowed some of their detail normal textures. So we got these lines now. So anyway, that sort of shows off the exclusion better. We're leaving the visor alone, and it's also the helmet, which a lot of people really like. And there's a flower pattern on it, and we can try putting. I'll go see if I can find another interesting pattern. It's Hawaiian. Oh, I did copy some out of CSGO and apply it. We can show some of those. Like there's the DD Pat with my funky colors. Sort of a camo. They lower the, or increase the scale a little bit. Play around with the colors. Uh, Not really Silent Pain. I mean, you're getting a slight sneak peek by just seeing the shader because this is all gonna eventually end up in the game. Um, that the shirt that you were seeing is a shirt from the new character model, uh, instead of the old one. But again, I'm not really an artist. I'm just working on the shader stuff, the shader tech. Let's see. Another common camo pattern people are familiar with. And yeah, the colors are just me messing around. I'm not able to pick good colors. Let me turn off that detail normal. And every one of these can be, they'll be slightly rotated differently, and slightly different scale, more or less. And so when you get a helmet skin on your account, there'll be a slight amount. Some of the ones that have these kind of camo patterns and whatnot, um, will have some slight variations by the normal map, or not the normal map, but the rotation and scale of the patterns that we use. Um, and then also the amount. Some things will come slightly dirty, right? Instead of perfectly clean. Um, and we're actually talking about having them change over time, like the longer you are in the game and alive, uh, and have your items on, uh, it will get more dirty and splattered and whatnot. So shaders are little programs that run on your graphics card in the GPU, and they can be as simple as applying a single texture or a combination of textures. Um, but they also can do other math and other operations in combination with that to produce interesting results like what I'm doing here, where I'm reading a texture that looks like this green, red, and blue thing here, where each channel is a mask, and then I am taking it and applying it to the model, but I'm substituting the colors, right, for different colors, and I'm rotating and scaling them around. Uh, yeah, I still have. I forgot to mess around with my mic to get it so it's coming out on both channels. So it's only in the left channel right now, I think. So you might be only hearing that. May be why you can't hear me. Of course, if you can't hear me, you didn't hear that explanation. Here, I'll type it. So and I'll be in left or right depending on how you have things set up. Uh, I had intended to spend some time this weekend fixing my streaming setup, but then I decided to stream tonight with more shader work because I got some things figured out and felt like it. Um, and Forgot to try to deal with the mic. And I want to stop and deal with it now. I tried a couple little minor things, but it didn't work. So, anyway, that's the helmet. And now I want to go on to the next thing, which will be a minute while I load that up in another window and then remap it. We'll take a couple minutes to set up that window. And with this one, we'll walk through a few steps of progression. Let me just get some things in order. Okay. If that builds, okay. Sorry about this. Like I said, it was only slightly more organized than last time. Uh, last time I just sort of did it completely winging it. This time I sort of have a plan of what I want to show you, but I still had to get things set up. Just gotta make sure I'm doing everything in the right order here. Add this source. Okay. So now you can see I have our AR-15 gun, and I've got our pattern applied to it, but it doesn't look very good. And part of that is because of how the AR-15 is mapped onto the texture. You can kind of see it here in this grayscale. The different parts of the gun are in different places in the texture, and so our pattern doesn't really fit on it nicely. Doesn't look very good. And when I try to rotate it around here, different parts of it rotate different ways, and it just doesn't work because the UVs on this gun are appropriate to make the gun look interesting. And let me get rid of that error there by loading the appropriate gun or grunge texture for later. And I mean the grunge works similarly on the gun. I can show that, right? It gets grimy and dirty and whatnot. But this doesn't look right. Like we need to apply this pattern in a better way. And so what I did is I'm gonna basically planar map this using technique that's very similar to what we do on the terrain. Um, but in order to do that, I need some texture coordinates, and what I want to use is the position on the gun, the position of the point that we're rendering to be a coordinate. And luckily I can do that because I'm just in a shader and I can pass the object position, and I actually pass the normal as well from the vertex shader. I modified this shader to do that. So I'm passing the position and normal for the object at that pixel. So from the vertex shader into the pixel shader, and it gets interpolated across the surface of every triangle. Um, and then I can use that, and I'll show you what it looks like by just taking over the color here, the output color of the shader, and you can see we got this gradient that goes, it's white way over here because it's like all three things are near the maximum, and then as you get to one end or the other you get different shades of colors, like a color gamut, because it's based on the position in X, Y, and Z what color it is. And I've already tuned this with adjusting the range for this particular gun, but I can show you if I adjust the extents differently, right? The object extents parameter that I pass in, if I do this, then now we get a longer range. More of the color gamut is visible, essentially, right? It goes from blue to not blue from front to back, and then it's like red is top to bottom, and green is left to right. And you only really see the green at the end here because that's where the blue and the red are not at. But anyway, that's what I use this as a texture coordinate, basically, is the position of that place in object space. So like the gun is normally like this when it's built. It's down the axis into the screen, and its position. But I have to take its position, which goes from plus or minus some number, and scale it into a range that's useful for texture coordinates. And then that's what these extents and offsets are, and we'll basically have these numbers tuned for each particular item appropriately, and they're just simple. A lot of the items will be the same values for when we want to do this particular technique. And so these are my coordinates now for the gun, represented as color on the surface. But let me put it back to that, and then I'll change this. It'll only work in one direction right now, but you can see that the pattern now looks a little better. It's, applying to the surface nicely. And if I adjust the scale, right, we can get a nice thing. nice look, and it rotates appropriately on that face, right, on that direction. But it doesn't look right at the top. It's all stretched, and it doesn't look right on the back, and like the back of the handle and some of this other stuff. So we can actually address that to a certain degree by doing the other planes. So I'll take out this section and replace it instead with this section down here, which is reading them all. And then I need the normal. And this is where the normal comes in. I need the normal to use to blend between the textures based on the normal facing of the surface, as well as the object's normal at that location. So we blend both the object normal and the surface normal, which comes from the normal map, together. Potentially, in this case, I don't actually use the surface normal on this gun because it's already relatively flat, but we could blend in the surface normal. Right now I just use the object normal and create a mask that is the blending of all three directions onto the surface. And if I do that, now you can see that, like on the back here, it looks okay, and on the top it's better. Like right over here on the top, it's lined up, right, and looks good. And if we rotate and scale, it's in line. And that's using planar mapping and then blending the planar maps together at appropriate angles on the surface. And so now we can have, repeated patterns and other whatnot patterns on the gun, even without having to have the artist go re-UV the whole thing. It does look odd on the back. It doesn't quite line up, but that's also a hard edge instead of a rounded edge. And it's not perfect. Like you can see right here, it does kind of a weird fade of the pattern. This particular pattern has, the flowers are really noticeable shapes. If we had a different, camo pattern on this, you probably wouldn't even notice, right? The transitions, and we can, and I'll probably tweak this technique a little bit to adjust the blend from one direction to another, but it's basically taking a planar projection for the three different directions and applying them, and it's not really doing anything to the other side. It's just applying the same planar projection on the other side, and it really should be applying it from another direction, but that would require more reads and more math, and I don't know if it's really necessary, because this looks good enough, in my opinion. We'll do some minor tweaks to clean up the edges, but the transitions maybe. Like I said, this particular pattern looks worse than others when it's going around. But, like it looks okay there. The flower wraps around and comes out on that side, and it's not quite the right shape of flower, but it still, it still looks okay, in my opinion. It looks a hell of a lot better than it did without this planar mapping. So yeah, so I see you guys chatting about doing different patterns. Let me and Player Studio and whatnot. And obviously, if people submit a gun with a giant penis on the side, it's not going to get through our system, so that it will never be in the game. similar to how other games, if you go to Valve's uh, workshop for CS:GO or Dota or whatever, there's all kinds of stuff submitted to those that have all kinds of wacky stuff that will just never get into the game. And in fact, it gets voted off the workshop pretty fast, and people that put up offensive things get banned from Steam Workshop, right? So they're quickly weeded out. I don't know if we're going to use Steam Workshop or not because we have Player Studio that we already use for our other games, so we'll probably use Player Studio. Um, but it's similar. It's a similar system where we allow players and whoever to contribute art and models and whatnot. And if they get in the game, then they make some money, right? So, um, if it were up to me, I would want to be on the workshop also. Maybe we can be on the workshop at the same time as being on Player Studio. We'll have to talk to Valve about that. There might be some issues there. I don't really know. I'm not a business person in that regard, but uh, you know, one way or another, people will be able to contribute and make custom skins for clothing and objects. We have backpacks and all kinds of stuff in our game that will be able to be customized in this kind of way. So let me just go try putting on one of those camo patterns if I can find it again. Camo wood. Again, these textures are just ones that I've borrowed. They're not final and don't expect to see them in the game exactly like this, although these are standard kind of camo patterns, so it's going to look really similar when the artists make our version of it. Right, so that, and rotate it around different directions. And one of the things that I don't have here is that this is applying the pattern everywhere on the gun. I don't have an exclusion map made for this particular item. It would be a little bit harder for me to make. I'm not really an artist, and I'd have to go edit the texture. It was easier with the shirt. I might be able to do one for this, but this was good enough. I mean, I can. The exclusion texture for this would probably like exclude the trigger and inside there, and maybe some other pieces of this that should not get the pattern applied to it. It's one of these things where the artist will be able to decide where they want the gun to have the pattern applied and where it shouldn't apply, using the exclusion map. We can also make a area where stuff gets excluded could also still be tinted, so they could make them different colors to match with the pattern. And let's futz with the colors on this just so it looks a little more like a demo thing. I guess it kind of looked like one already, but anyway. So that's that. And again, this one can be grunged up. And if I wanted to, I could also switch it back to the splatter version, which right now I can only do one or the other. Later on I can set it up so we could actually have both. It's just cumbersome in this tool to do that. I will just switch to the splatter version and show it to you. on the gun. So now we get red spots. Blood splatter on the gun. We can rotate it around differently. Right. I have a good mic, I just have to get it set up properly. It's a Cascade condenser mic, XLR output into a high resolution sampling DAW device, and I used it for podcast stuff, and that's why it's only in mono one channel right now. Is because it was all mixed together by the podcast producer that I worked with, and we didn't have any issues. So anyway, you can see blood splatter, and that's most of what I was gonna. I think that's pretty much it of what I was gonna show of everything that I pre-figured out. They make him a slave, yeah. Yeah, good luck with making me a slave. So, how do I guess now I have all these sources over here on my XSplit. I get rid of them. Is there a remove source? Huh. Yeah, we're gonna have in the long term when this system is all integrated into the game properly, uh, all of the items that are in the game, including like the ones you find in the world, the shirts and backpacks and whatnot that already they have artist painted stuff. We're going to redo them using this stuff so that they can have wear and grunge variations added to them, and we can do a lot more versions of them. You know, different colored solid shirts and striped shirts and whatnot. The common stuff that you'll just find in the world to put on, and then the then the, also all the stuff that you get out of crates and elite bags and regular mystery bags and whatnot will be changed over to use this, and it'll let us be able to make, you know, different varieties of shirts with different colors and the logos on them in different places and patterns and whatnot and all the camo types. And you know, you can go look in other games like CS:GO or Dota or whatnot and see how they have all kinds of variety with custom skins, and that's kind of the direction we're going in with this, something like that, so that we can have all these cool things for you guys to customize yourself to look unique, you know. And yeah, we'll have camo pants and camo shirts and backpacks and all the different kinds of weapons. We'll have different camo and patterns and cool looking things, solid colors and whatnot. We'll have a variety of styles. I don't know if our combat knives will be worth thousands of dollars or not. Uh, I mean, we'll definitely have the various knives in the game, and we'll have skins for them that make them look cool. Uh, but I don't, who knows the values of those? Like in CS:GO, part of the value of the knives is that they're really rare and really hard to get. Right? They're super rare in the crates. Um, Whereas we have all the different knife types just lying around in the world. It's the way our game works. The only thing we do is give you skins to apply them. That's what you get out of your crates and mystery bags and rewards and whatnot, is things to customize items that you already find in the game. Because we don't want to make stuff you get out of crates be game changing at all. It's just visual cosmetic. So, and when I say stuff you get out of crates and all that, I'm talking about like the account items that you get on your account to apply skins and whatnot. Those are all going to be cosmetic. Yeah, Nighthawk, I understand, but um, you know, we'll have knife skins. I don't know if we're gonna do them as the super rare things in our crates. We're still working out how we want to do things in our crates, but we're gonna have common stuff and uncommon stuff and rare stuff, and then a super rares. We have ideas. We're not ready to spill the beans on all the details of that yet because we're still working it out. But ultimately, the players decide what the most valuable things are, right? Because they decide how much to put them for sale on the marketplace for, and they decide how valuable they are. You can claim whatever you want there, Mr. Leet, for being in my chat channel during shader streaming. Um, so yeah, I think for the future, I'm probably gonna stream on Fridays with shader type work. It's not gonna be every Friday because some weeks I just don't work on the shaders at all, and I would be sitting here going, "Oh, I don't know what to do," and you guys would all be completely bored. And then some weeks I work on a lot of shaders, so you'll get overloaded. Um, but it'll probably be a couple times a month on Fridays going forward. Um, we are still also have several people working on the anti-cheat stuff. We've been tuning and ramping up some of the detection items. I know a lot of people are complaining, oh, there are hackers everywhere, there's cheaters everywhere. Um, it has been, it's getting addressed. The people out on the team are definitely working on it. Um, and we have been banning people, and you know, tell us how the team is going and the crashing. Yeah, when I came home to do this stream, there was still a few guys there at work going through the crash reports and identifying the problems and trying to fix them, and hopefully we'll have several crashes addressed for the next update, which I think is going to be early next week. There might be some hot fixes over the weekend if they can patch them in the client where it doesn't disrupt the game too much. You just get it the next time you log out and log back in, or crash out and then log back in. Um, but I can't promise any of that. I know that we are targeting doing another update later in the week, or later in the week, early next week. uh, to have a bunch of stuff that's already fixed or addressed, but some, we're primarily the coders are all working on crashes and going through crash reports. And I've been doing that mixed in with some of the shader work as well. Um, it's definitely being addressed, though. We have several programmers on the team, and we have some specializations in different areas. Some of the guys are better at server backend stuff. Some of the guys are better at the client game systems, and I mostly work on graphics and shaders right now. But I also do other stuff, and that's why I've been sort of helping when I can, testing and debugging and looking over crash reports as well. Um, we have a number of people on the team. We can be working on multiple things simultaneously. Obviously, the artist can't help with crash reports. We don't want them in the code. They'll just add more crashes because they're not programmers, they're artists, right? Anyway, I'm just reading the chat, and if there's questions I can answer, I'll answer for a little while. Kicked yourself out. So Bloodcore 91, we have a there's a group outside of our team. We have a game technology group, and they are working on the DirectX 11 engine update for rendering and whatnot. And once they're to a certain point where it's all solid and supports the features we need, then help integrate it into our game so that we'll be updating to that engine. But it's going to be a while because we want to, you know, they need to finish getting that tech built to support what we need, and then we have to integrate it into the game. So it's going to be quite a while, many months at least, if not towards the end of the year. Darth Vader helmet would probably be an issue with Lucas slash Disney. They probably wouldn't want us to have that in our game. We'd have to work out some kind of deal with them, which would involve probably paying a lot of licensing money, which may not be worth it for you guys. Sir Kane, what's the blending type used by Terrain called? Well, it's a combination of things, but the thing I talked about tonight was the planar mapping, triplanar mapping, which we use on the terrain to when the train goes into up into hills and whatnot or down into valleys, and you're applying the texture. If you just did a single planar map straight down, you'd get stretching and whatnot, lower resolution on the hillside versus on the flat ground. So you do triplanar mapping so that you get more resolution in the hillsides, and then you blend between the hills and the flat parts to make it look good. And that's tech that we built a long time ago. It's in PlanetSide 2, and it's in our game, in the terrain, in the ground. And then, of course, I used it to allow us to do this blending on this gun to make it look reasonable. And you can see, with this camo pattern, it looks pretty good across any of the angles. Some of this moraying is just because I've got specular patterns set kind of weird on the top there. But anyway. Oh, it was pretty cool working at Valve. I liked it a lot. There's a lot of really cool people there. I'm not really gonna say anything negative or spill any of the information or anything. I worked with some really awesome people while I was there, and they have some pretty amazing tech. Hey, Todic. Nice to see you in the channel. Somebody I actually know. I don't know if you saw the demo or not. Millsy, yeah, we're aware of a lot of the crashing. We get reports. Um, some of it is that we're having issues reproducing them internally for some of them, but we're working on it. We are able to do some of them, and we are fixing them when we can. Yeah. So, Todic, did you see the other the shirt with the flowers and whatnot? I wonder if I can make. Oh yeah, hey, sweet. There's the helmet with the same camo pattern. I'm gonna put the flowers back on it. Because flowers are cool. Hawaiian pattern is cool. I think that's hilarious. The Hawaiian helmet. Yes, we have a Hawaiian shirt here. I can show you that. That's where is that? Oh, I thought I had it already. Let's see if this shows up, or if I have to map it. Wonder how many sources I can add in XSplit before it explodes. I've got like 10 of them in there now. So there's the Hawaiian shirt version of this. There's there's the purple, blue, yellow. Well, the yellow that doesn't look very yellow. Sort of puke. Now it's yellow. There we go. Now you're all blind. Oh yeah, and we can adjust the scale. You can have really giant flowers or really small ones. Reduce some of this for people that showed up later. You can rotate the scale or rotate the pattern around. We can make the flowers yellow or whatever color we want. They look best white, I think, with this particular pattern. And then you can see there's this detail in the red there that is actually a pattern I can change. So there's that one, and if we go to this one, right now it's got a sort of grid mesh thing, and we can adjust the size of that pattern. I'm not sure how well that's coming through. But Millsy, yeah, we'll have. I'm pretty sure we're gonna have jackets, and if we do, we're gonna have camo jackets and leather jackets and probably camo leather jackets. Uh, and we're all the different clothing items are gonna be rendered through this kind of shader tech for pants, shirts, the backpack. We're talking about allowing you to have like a scarf on your face, like a bandit, and those could be patterns. Um, they're talking about we have like the motorcycle helmet that I was showing a minute ago there. Uh, see if I can bring that back up easily. There it is. Right. This will have all kinds of different capabilities or patterns made for it. Put it back to one of the other camo types. This one is to look deserty. It shouldn't be quite so yellow. Circane, yeah. We will we will definitely be using the customization system on the zombies. Zombies in the long term, where our intention is the zombies will use the same models as the player, just with, you know, zombification done to like their face and skin, and their clothing will tend to be uh, more maybe ripped up and bloodied and maybe have guts hanging out and stuff like that. But the same kind of tech will be applied, so you'll see zombies wearing the same kind of shirts that players are wearing, just zombified, as it were. We're still figuring out exactly how that will work. But yeah, the long term goal is we're getting the new male character in, and then the female character in after that with appropriate clothing for female characters as well as the male. Obviously, lots of clothing for both of them. But then both of them will also be used for zombies. Uh, XV Jericho Vex. I guess I don't know. I don't know if they'll get halter tops or not. I don't. I'm not involved in the decision on what clothing will be made for females and males at all, other than building tech for the artist to use to make the stuff look cool. And and this stuff will look better with artist made uh, textures and whatnot. Make the helmet look a little more correct with the shininess there. And the lighting model in this tool doesn't match the game's lighting model, so it'll actually look better in the game than in here. Hopefully, in a future stream, I'll try to copy in some of our lighting model from the game into this tool if I can. It's kind of limited, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to. Uh, yeah, we will definitely have female characters. We hear a lot of female customers want to be able to play as females. including some of the streamers and whatnot. And of course, there's a lot of dudes that want to play as females, both ways. Yeah, the lighting in the game is a lot better. We have a deferred rendering engine in the game, and so we have a much more sophisticated lighting model going on there. Whereas this is just forward rendered in this tool. Can I get the gun back? There it is. I think the gun looks pretty hilarious with the flowers on it too. Oh, that's a different. Oh yeah, that's one I stole. That one looks kind of cool too. I don't really want to use textures I borrowed from another game too much. I don't want to get in trouble. That's why my disclaimer is that this is all just me Googling and searching and doing programmer art, as it were. I would carry that AR-15 around in the game. I don't care. I think it looks cool. Wouldn't you use that? Nighthawk. I think this looks better than the camo. That's why you don't want me to be the artist. Let's see. I don't even think this will work, but I'll try it. Okay, that needs to be red. White. And now it's H1Z1, but it's inverted. There, now you can read it. H1Z1. Let me go back real quick to one of the patterns that works more correctly. And those colors. And if we zoom in on this, I can show that we can do detail normals on the gun as well. Right. Of course, the detail normals are still being applied the old way. So you can see they don't quite map correctly. So what I need to do is, where do I read the detail bump? Oh, I am passing in the pattern text code. Oh, right, but that's just one of them. Gotta do. Okay, well. Sorry, I got distracted there. I ignored you guys for a minute. In order to get the detail bump to work through this planar mapping thing, I would have to sample the detail bump 3 times, and it already does 3 samples. Yeah, the gun is just modeled uh, from a real gun, so it has the switch on it. I'm not sure if Jimmy. I think Jimmy is planning on having burst and full auto variants, but um, I'm not sure. Yeah, Sarkane. All right, dude. It's already somewhat expensive to do this shader. I still have to, once I get all the features in, I'll have to go through and optimize it a bit. But yeah, we probably just, when we're doing the triplanar mapping, we probably just won't support the detail bump stuff. Uh, I'm not sure it really works on these kind of guns anyway. They're, you know, not really meant to for that kind of thing. They're more meant for clothing and materials. Just seeing if there's some other way I could finagle the detail blend. I can definitely do it at different times in the using different versions of the coordinates. Oh, would help if I copied everything up appropriately to the right place. That sort of did the right thing for one direction anyway. Still looks crappy in the other directions. I just moved it to where it would use the planar mapping in this one direction only. That kind of worked, but like I said, it doesn't look good on the top. It's just sort of streaked across, and the side here doesn't quite look right either. Without, like I said, I'd have to do this detail bump thing 3 times to get it and blend it, just like I'm doing with the main color. Yeah, well, this model was the exported for me into an OBJ file so that I could use it in this tool. So it may just be backwards because of that. I don't know if it's like this in the game or not. I mean, you can see that like the text is backwards and stuff, so it's probably just that it's not right in this model in the game or in this tool, but it's probably fine in the game. Again, this is an asset from our game, but it was exported in a format that I could use in this tool, and it might have inverted it when it did that. So, yeah. You have to look at it in the game to see if it's actually backwards in the real game. I doubt we will see Hawaiian shirt skin on the guns. This is just the the pattern I have for testing the feature, and I put it on a gun. Uh, Most likely, the guns will all be patterns that are appropriate for guns. Although, if you go Google uh, gun camo, uh, real people do some pretty wacky stuff with their guns using hydrographic techniques and whatnot. They don't just do camo anymore. You can find people that have made a gun that has Hello Kitty pink all over it and real guns with these kinds of patterns on them. Uh, and like you just said, people spray paint their guns. They put masking tape over parts of it and then spray paint it, and then they put mesh patterns and spray paint on top of that to create interesting things. Uh, I doubt we will have Op Asimov. For one, we don't have an Op. We have a different kind of sniper rifle in our game, and I don't know if we're going to add the Op. And for two, Asimov is that artist would have to make it for our game, and then we'd probably have to get permission from Valve to have it in our game because it's already in one of their games. They're pretty cool. They might allow that if the artist actually did the work, but that's not very likely there in Nighthawk. Oh yeah, leaves. I've seen lots of guns on Google with leaf and twig and wood bark patterns and stuff like that. Yeah, Circane, I'm pretty sure it's fine in the game. It's just I had him exported as an OBJ really quickly just so I could load it into this tool easily. And it probably just I just like I may even be able to fix it by changing a setting in here. I never even messed with that. There might be a here. Let's change it to right hand coordinates. Hey, look at that! Guess what? Now it's on the right side and the words go the right way. There's a setting. I should have just looked. And you can read the text now. Property of U.S. government, M16A4, Cal .5.56 mm. Oh, I guess it's Cal 5.56 mm. Oh, I can get any model I want, Circane. It takes them like 2 seconds at work. I only need a few to make the shader. Like this one I got specifically so that I could make this triplanar mapping and see if it would work, and it sure did. It works good enough in my opinion. A few tweaks and it'll look fine. turn on some grunge. Oh, this is the blood splatter version. Let me switch it back. I think it's better with the regular grunge. And we'll turn off this. So there you go. There's the Hawaiian camo pattern gun where it's all dirty and eroded away. Did the stream crash? No, I'm still encoding frames. So elite, selling out. You know that the whole point of being in the game dev business is to sell out, right? We're trying to sell out our stuff. The whole point of making products and selling them to people is to sell out. I never quite got the thing about selling out. Like musicians, everyone tells them, oh, they sold out. Yeah, they wanted to make it big and sell lots of records. What's wrong with that? Let me scroll back. Did I miss any questions? Are you saying things like this won't be added because they aren't really... Nighthawk, I think that the guns that get into the game, the camo patterns that we build for the guns and the other skins that we make for the guns will probably be a lot more of the, you know, what you would typically see on guns, more camo patterns and maybe like hunter type patterns with the twigs and the bark and stuff like that you see. We'll probably stay a little tamer and not go completely outlandish on them. We might do a few that are cool and interesting, but I don't think we're gonna do a Hawaiian shirt pattern on a gun because I think that's just ridiculous. I mean, if a player makes a gun with a Hawaiian shirt pattern on it and it gets voted up in Player Studio and people decide they want to put it in the game, then maybe. I'm not going to say no or never, but I'm kind of dubious. But like I said, go Google gun camo or weapon camo and look at what real people do with real guns. You know, there are, you can go buy guns with pink camo on them right now, or you can go buy a service to have your gun get pink camo applied to it. You know, it's not unrealistic to have that kind of stuff. And in our game, the way the guns are portrayed is that you find them in people's houses, so like they were people's guns that they just happen to have, right? They're not like military issued weapons. KBPX Pabs. Will there be vehicle skins? I think so. Probably not in the same way that like this is done with wacky patterns and whatnot, but we'll probably do a simpler version of this tech that lets us do the same vehicles with different colors and simple, realistic looking normal car type paint jobs. You might have some two tone cars or some cars with a racing stripe and stuff like that. But I, I don't think we want to have it be, all kinds of wackiness on the cars. It's just to allow us to have some more variety in the cars without it costing a bunch of textures, right? Because we can make a single mask texture that appropriately masks different parts of the car, and then have the color application stuff like what we do here, you know. So I have the red version, and then I can make the blue version, right? And I can make the version where the flowers are yellow. So we could do a car that is blue with a yellow racing stripe, or red with a white racing stripe, and stuff like that. And the Jeep can, like, there can be a brown one and a green one and a blue one, and we can have the rag top, or the removable top could be like white or green or different colors, two tone type stuff. I think that's the direction we're going to go with the vehicles and potentially some other